Electricity Minister Newzroom says the lower stages of load shedding can be expected from Wednesday. Rolling blackouts have since dropped from stage 6 to 5, which was implemented early yesterday. Newzroom says there are no quick fixes to end the power cuts. He's also added that stage 6 was necessary due to the loss of 4,400 megawatts after 9 units failed. We will be bringing you some reaction to this in a moment.
We are expecting to return these units, to return this 4,400, the 3,400 megawatts, because we have already returned the 1,000 megawatts. We expect the last of these units that failed on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to return by Wednesday of this week. And that's when by Tuesday we are going to see significant reduction going back to those levels 4, 3, 2 and 1, and also periodically not having load shedding on starting Wednesday going forward.
Let's expand on this. I'm joined now by Energy and Infrastructure Finance Specialist Ruse Moleshe. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, we've listened to what Minister of Electricity Newzroom Afrika has had to say, really talking about a way forward. But the source, breakdowns at a number of power stations cited as the reason for the escalation of stage 6 load shedding. What have you made of that reasoning as the country woke up to stage 6 load shedding on Friday morning?
Good morning, Paul, and to the viewers. So what I have made of the minister's input is that as South Africa, as we've been saying, as many analysts, that South Africa has a fragile system from a supply side constraint point of view to be able to meet our demand. Yes, Eskom has been making some improvements to try and get back some of the supply, but we still find ourselves in a tight situation where we do not have enough reserve capacity to be able to meet any challenges that happen in a system. In a system like this, challenges can be expected, and the minister, unfortunately, can give any undertakings, but cannot predict what could happen in the system. This is why internationally we have reserve capacity that is on standby and is supposed to help when we face such situations.
What the minister did say is that, you don't have to believe him or the president. All that's needed here is a close look at the trend line. How significant is that assessment of the trend line?
It is if you do it over a long period of time. You can't be assessing something based on a relatively short space of time. The system has to prove its reliability over some time. Then you can say with certainty that you can rely on that system. So yes, to be honest, Eskom has been making some strides in terms of looking at that trend. If you can see, they've been doing a lot of planned maintenance, which also takes away from the capacity, which is why I'm saying that we shouldn't be talking about the system, thinking that the system every day will perform as expected. There is always going to be something, and that is why we are supposed to have backup capacity that is sufficient. Recently, we had one of the biggest challenges was that we needed peaking power. And we needed to replenish the resources for the hydropower plants. That talks to insufficient backup capacity.
There's been a lot of frustrations, of course, with South Africans talking right as President Cyril Ramaphosa said the worst is behind us insofar as load shedding is concerned. I mean, various experts have also weighed in and specifically saying that the boiler tube failures were preventable, that this could have been something that was preempted and prevented ahead of the country experiencing load shedding stage 6. So do you think that is the case? Do you agree, or are you of a different assessment?
I think even if that was the case, and I think Eskom is doing everything they can to be able to make sure that they prevent or they preempt problems that occur unexpectedly. But in a system like this, there will be occurrences like that. what the minister should be talking about is what the government is doing to ensure that there's sufficient capacity such that when that happens, there's backup ready. There is no one in the world who can predict or that with certainty all the time that the generation units will always be boiler tube leaks. That's a problem here and there, and that should be mitigated through a proper strategy to ensure that we bring in additional capacity, which is why we're told that the electricity minister has been brought in to help expedite those projects. We have not seen any significant new capacity that is coming in to help Eskom try and get on top of what they are doing.
And what about the issues around sabotage, beefing up security? What is your take on that? Because, I mean, some of the comments that are also coming in are around a matter of sabotage and that's how security needs to be boosted.
I think from a South Africa perspective, whether it's Transnet, whether it's Telkom, whether it's Eskom, there's an element of sabotage that happens within those systems. It's intrinsic in that system. So, but you cannot elevate it over everything else that is happening. Performance in terms of the plant is supposed to be managed, and I think it is being managed. Is that when something goes wrong and there's no backup, there will be a problem. So I wouldn't overplay the issue of sabotage. At the same time, I'm not saying it does not happen, but it's not the primary driver of what we are seeing today.
In your view, what sort of approach should the government be taking to prevent load shedding and ensure that it really is behind us?
In my view, I think I agree with the approach that Eskom's power plants are the biggest in terms of the system, total system. So we should be concentrating on doing maintenance on them, and that is happening. However, I think that the government, on the other hand, should be assisting with new capacity that will back up the system for emergencies. We have very little reserve capacity, and should anything happen, whether it's winter or a breakdown in one system or the other, we are not prepared to come in. We come in with a lot of expensive diesel sometimes, but sometimes it falls short. So that is what I thought the Minister of Electricity was going to try and do, besides the focus on, which is a good thing, on making sure that there's proper maintenance with the Eskom facilities.
Very well. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion. Ruse Moleshe, who's an infrastructure finance specialist there, really reacting to the Electricity Minister, Dr. Newzroom Afrika, insofar as load shedding is concerned. We do